Florida might be best known for its sunshine, beaches, and theme parks, but lurking behind its palm trees are some chilling stories of paranormal encounters. From haunted hotels to eerie lighthouses, here are 10 of the most haunted places in the Sunshine State. Ready for some Halloween goosebumps? Let's dive in. First up, believe it or not, we're going to Disney's Magic Kingdom. And no, we're not going where you think we might be going. The Haunted Mansion might be home to 999 happy haunts, but it's the Pirates of the Caribbean ride that may be home to an eerie presence. Legend has it a worker named George died here during the ride's construction in the 1970s, and ever since, cast members and maintenance workers have reported strange activity tied to his restless spirit. From technical malfunctions to eerie disembodied voices, George has made it clear that he's still around. Some even believe that George will cause ride breakdowns to happen if he's ignored, so some superstitious cast members even say good morning and good night to George each day to avoid his wrath, because if they forget, strange and inexplicable things might start happening. Flickering lights, ride breakdowns, and ghostly whispers all point to George's lingering presence in this classic attraction. So next time you're on this beloved Disney ride, keep an ear out. You might just hear George too. Standing tall in America's oldest city, the St. Augustine Lighthouse has seen a lot of history and its fair share of tragedy. Built in 1874, the lighthouse has long been a hotspot for alleged paranormal activity. Visitors and staff alike have reported shadowy figures darting across the stairs, objects moving on their own, and the unmistakable sound of children's laughter echoing through the tower. The most famous spirits believed to haunt the lighthouse are those of two young girls who tragically drowned nearby when a cart they were playing in broke loose and plunged into the water. Many have claimed to see these two girls playing in the shadows, their laughter still haunting the halls. Others have reported hearing the footsteps of former lighthouse keeper Joseph Andreu, who tragically fell to his death while painting the famous tower. On the surface, the Don CeSar Hotel in St. Pete Beach is the epitome of luxury and glamour. Known as the Pink Palace, it has been welcoming guests since the 1920s. But behind all its opulence, there are stories of love, loss, and ghostly encounters. The most famous ghost to roam these halls is none other than the hotel's founder, Thomas Rowe. Heartbroken over a love affair that ended tragically, Rowe built the Don CeSar in honor of his beloved Lucinda, even creating a garden with a replica of the fountain where they once met. Guests and staff have both reported sightings of Rowe dressed in his signature white suit, wandering the halls or strolling through the garden searching for his lost love. Elevators here have been known to move on their own, cold spots appear out of nowhere, and guests have even seen doors open and close without a single soul nearby. In Coral Gables, the Biltmore Hotel is a shining example of 1920s grandeur, but this landmark is home to some sinister secrets. Once a lavish hotel and later a military hospital during World War II, the Biltmore has seen more than its fair share of death and tragedy. Perhaps the most infamous spirit said to haunt the hotel is the mobster Thomas Fatty Walsh, who was gunned down here in a gambling dispute in the hotel's penthouse suite in 1929. Guests and staff report hearing disembodied voices, footsteps echoing down the corridors, and elevators moving between floors with no passengers. Some claim to have even seen a figure in period clothing, believed to be Walsh, standing in the lobby or pacing the hallways. Others have reported mysterious cold spots, flickering lights, and the feeling of being watched. Tragedy struck Cape Canaveral in 1967 when three astronauts, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger B. Chaffee, lost their lives in a fire during a test for the Apollo 1 mission. The launch pad where this fateful event occurred, Complex 34, now stands abandoned, but some say the spirits of the astronauts never truly left. Visitors to the site have reported overwhelming feelings of sadness and despair, unexplained cold spots, and the sound of voices calling out from the empty complex. NASA workers and tourists alike have spoken of hearing distant footsteps and murmurs, as if the astronauts are still preparing for their ill-fated mission. Originally built as a funeral parlor, the Riddle House in West Palm Beach is one of Florida's most haunted locations. Its tragic history includes the story of a former employee named Joseph, who took his own life by hanging himself here in the attic. Since then, strange things have been happening all over the house. Visitors report hearing loud banging sounds, doors slamming shut on their own, and ghostly figures appearing in the windows. The attic, where Joseph met his tragic end, is said to be the most haunted part of the house. Some claim to feel an overwhelming sense of dread upon entering, while others have heard whispers and even seen apparitions. Here in the heart of Central Florida lies Cassadaga, a small town known as the psychic capital of the world. Founded in the late 1800s by spiritualists, the town has long been a magnet for those seeking contact with the other side. But with so much energy focused on the paranormal, it's no surprise that Cassadaga has its own haunted past. The Cassadaga Hotel in particular is said to be home to numerous spirits. Guests have reported seeing a woman in white wandering the halls and hearing soft whispers late at night. Rooms grow cold without explanation, and some visitors have even seen objects moving on their own. But perhaps the most chilling story from Cassadaga is about the infamous Devil's Chair. This brick chair located in the local cemetery is said to be cursed. Legend has it if you sit in the chair at midnight, the devil himself will appear. Others have said if you leave a can of beer on the chair overnight, it will mysteriously be empty by morning, with the can left unopened. Whether you believe it or not, the Devil's Chair does add another layer of eerie mystique to Cassadaga's haunted reputation. The Vinoy Renaissance Hotel in St. Petersburg is a grand historic hotel with a luxurious exterior and a haunted reputation. Built in the 1920s, the Vinoy has seen its share of strange occurrences over the years. Guests and staff have reported seeing ghostly figures dressed in old-fashioned clothing appearing in rooms and hallways late at night. The most famous apparition is that of a man in a tuxedo who is said to stand silently at the foot of guest beds before disappearing into thin air. Cold spots, flickering lights, and the sound of footsteps in empty hallways have all been reported here. The May Stringer House in Brooksville is a Victorian-era home that has been called the most haunted home in Florida. Originally built in the 1800s, the house has seen its share of tragedy, including the deaths of its original owners and their children. Today, the house operates as a museum, but many visitors believe the spirits of the past still roam its halls. The most commonly reported ghost is that of a little girl named Jessie, who died of illness at a young age. Guests and paranormal investigators have both reported hearing Jessie's laughter, seeing toys move on their own, and feeling sudden cold drafts. And there are also reports of Civil War-era soldiers roaming the house, as well as the spirit of a former midwife who lived here. And finally, we head down to Key West to see one of the most haunted objects in the world, Robert the Doll. Housed in the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Robert is said to be cursed. Visitors claim the doll will move on its own, and anyone who disrespects him by taking a photo without permission is doomed to a life of bad luck. Some have said they've left the museum with strange occurrences following them long after their visit with the doll. Alright, thanks for watching my list of the 10 most haunted places in Florida, if you believe this kind of thing. Personally, I don't know that I do, but it's really fun to think about this type of stuff, especially around Halloween. And if you want to learn more about fun and interesting things to do all around the state of Florida, from the theme parks to the state parks, please like, share, subscribe, tell one other friend. That really helps the channel grow, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.